So what do we got going on here? This is probably about the 5th or 6th video on this vehicle that had 2 bad aftermarket condensers. One was replaced. This one we made fit and work, even though it's even a bigger piece of shit than the last leaking aftermarket piece of garbage. So right now, it's only 66 degrees outside. And with the hot air blowing past, the heat picked up by the condenser, then the heat picked up by the radiator is blowing around here and mixing with the 66 degree air, and we're waving between 71 and 72 degrees. You can move your hand around here, and every now and then you could feel the heat roll around. So it's coming around and it's being pulled around in front of the condenser. That's why it's 72 degrees out here. Some of it, you put your hand down here, you can feel a little bit rolling up this way. That's why idle always sucks. And in my previous condensers, I explained, instead of having 21 fins per inch, this only has 15 fins per inch instead of 21 fins per inch. That's what I was writing down as I was copying over there. Instead of having 50 tubes, refrigerant passage tubes, this only has 46. And instead of having a 1.33 diameter receiver, it has a 1.26 diameter receiver. And I bet you if we took out the desiccant material and we weighed it and compared it to the OEM, you'd find out that's lighter too. And I know for a fact, if you looked inside the cooling fins at the fins, you'll notice there's half as many inside there too. And this is what happens when you deal with low-life salesmen who import shit and put it on. You can't blame the bodymen or the body shops. The insurance companies tell them on certain policies, when you sign up for your policy, that we can put aftermarket parts, and this is what happens sometimes. I've made many videos about it. So since it's only 66 degrees, and in this local area with the mixing and the blowing of the hot air of the engine mixing with this, we're picking up roughly 72 degrees in front of the condenser right there. And out the dash, we're getting 49 degrees. And that's handled by right there we go. Oh, no, right there. 51. It's been 58 most of the time, just going down to 48, 51, 48, right about there. What are we into minutes? We're going to minute 7 right now. High side pressure. Now this is the thing, for as cool as it is today, since I own a Toyota Yaris too, with the same compressor, same setup, 231 PSI. That is ridiculous for this car at this ambient temperature with very little sunlight. It's not a hot day, it's not a high humidity, which we can tell right there. Humidity, only 43 degrees humidity outside. That's off your temperature sensor. It's also a humidity sensor. Low humidity, low heat load, not a really strong sun today, and this thing is already at 230, 240. Let's go to our data log here. Let's go. I'm sorry for the reflection, but we're in the real world. We are outside in the sun. So there we go. You can see the high side pressure going up and down, as low as 223, as high as 242. Now, since I've done thousands of vehicles and on these Yarises and owning one myself, I know that this should be somewhere about 148 to 150 PSI. But because it has this rat bastard piece of crap aftermarket condenser, and they've cut down so many ways to just narrow down the product weight and materials used to ink out every little penny of profit, but still fit in the same area, you get crap like this. And it's only 72 degrees at this end. It's breezy. I don't know if you can see. Can you see the wind blowing? You know, we got about an 8, 9, 10 mile an hour with a little 10 mile an hour gusts every now and then. And it's a constant breeze back here, so it's not like it's hot. And I am just dying to wait to see I would love to be able to test this one on a 90, 95 degree day or more. I will bank you that this thing will be floating right around 400, 415 PSI on a 95-degree day. Customer will be complaining about cooling. The engine will bog down like hell, especially at idle. If you're on the blacktop gets hot. And if it's a 95 to 100-degree day, usually your blacktop, if you got the measurement like this and you took this down and you come down to the surface, just off the surface of the blacktop, let's see if I could hold this off the surface just about. Oh, we got the wind. We got the wind. Let's see, right off the surface. I don't want to touch the surface. So we're just off the surface, but the wind is blowing hard, so that will cool it down. It only went up a few degrees, 75, going up to 76, and it depends on the wind. But what you'll find on 95-degree days with no wind, if you take your thermometer and you come down about the height of a condenser off the roadway on a 95-degree day with no wind, off a blacktop like a freeway or a roadway, especially when this one's pretty bleached out, on a black one, you'll see it'll be about 110 degrees, 105, and that's what will be going up in your condenser. People don't think about that. So we have a system that, as long as he doesn't go nowhere really hot, customer might not notice it. But this is the kind of thing that sets you up. Your compressor is always going at, now remember, we're just at idle and we're on a cool day with not a strong sun load, and we have 229 PSI to 240 PSI. So imagine what it's going to be like on 85 degree, 95 degrees, floating at right about 400 PSI. That will bog down the engine because it takes much more torque spinning power. So that means it needs to force more gas into the engine, and the idle air has to compensate more to keep that compressor spinning so it could keep cooling. So you notice the gas mileage go down. I feel sorry for them. Another thing I've seen, when this scenario happens, in worst case scenarios where they're always floating around 400 PSI, the gas mileage plummets. On EV vehicles, the EV battery range plummet. But they take the V, especially if it's a hybrid, they always take the vehicle in complaining about gas mileage. And the mechanics, the poor technicians don't know that it was in a body shop 9 months ago or a year ago. And now summertime rolls around and the outside temperatures go up and high side pressure goes up and the gas mileage goes down. The poor technician in the shop has no idea to look at the AC. Coils get replaced, spark plugs get replaced, maybe a fuel pump, fuel filter. They just start diving everywhere looking for problems. What's the normal things that would be gas mileage? And a lot of places just shotgun replacing parts. But it's the aftermarket condenser. And if I take the OEM, if I took this out right now and I put in the OEM, you would see that 225, 240 PSI drop down to about 140, 160 PSI on the high side, just from a condenser swap. So I notate, I've taken a lot of pictures. It goes in the invoice to the owner because this is an insurance job and insurance is paying for it. I explain it. I have no guarantee warranty at all. This customer will suffer from decreased AC performance, lower gas mileage, and those are the kind of compressors that snap off. It doesn't have a clutch, so it's the snap off compressor. And I notate right down in there, if the customer complains, the way to fix this, have the customer bring back the vehicle, rent the customer a rental car, take apart the car, take out that aftermarket piece of garbage, go buy an OEM condenser, put the OEM condenser in. I will charge it back up, and I will guarantee you will have your original equipment, what you paid for when you bought this car, AC performance, instead of having this. That's all I gotta say. Let's sign off. Have a good day, guys. And this is just another one of those scenarios where I feel sorry for the customer. Not my call. Insurance company gives the old finger pointing thing.